The letter arrived on a Thursday morning, wrapped in cream-colored stationery and the faint scent of peonies, the kind of expensive paper that tries to soften a blow before it lands. I didn't have to open it to know what it was. My name is Margaret Lane, 67 years old, retired bookkeeper from Toledo, Ohio. I've balanced ledgers for corporations, hospitals, and once even a sheriff's office, but I never thought I'd have to audit my own family. I slit the envelope neatly, like I'd done thousands of times at work. Inside was a single page embossed with Emily's new monogram, E and D, the perfect union. Dearest Mom, after much discussion with Daniel and his family, we've decided to keep the ceremony intimate, adults only. Please don't take this personally. The event will be filmed and live streamed for family who can't attend. We'll celebrate together soon. Love, Emily. Adults only. I almost laughed. I'd raised her alone since she was 8, taught her to write checks, to drive, to believe in earning before spending. But somewhere between her MBA and her fiancé's first promotion, I'd become an inconvenience to the image she was building. I set the letter down beside my mug of black coffee. The steam had gone cold. The kitchen clock ticked louder than usual, each second sounding like a small betrayal. I opened my laptop, force of habit, and checked my accounts. There it was, a recent charge of $7,800 to the Bridal Atelier of Chicago. Memo line, final fitting. The card was mine, the one I'd opened years ago for emergencies. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the numbers glowing on the screen. The last time I'd seen that much spent at once was when I'd paid for her first year of college. The funny thing about numbers is they never lie. People do. I looked at the cream envelope again, the neat handwriting I'd once been so proud of. Somewhere in the polite phrasing of that letter, my daughter had uninvited not just her mother, but the truth of how she'd gotten here. I folded the letter back into its envelope, slipped it into my old accounting folder, and whispered to the empty kitchen, "All right then, Emily, let's keep this professional." I reached for my calculator and ledger, the same tools that built her future, and began adding columns that would soon subtract everything she thought she owned. I didn't call Emily right away. I wanted to believe that maybe she'd been pressured, that Daniel's family had said something cruel and she'd folded under it. But hope is just denial wearing perfume. 2 days later, my phone rang. Her name lit the screen. For a second, my heart lifted until I heard her voice. "Mom, you got the letter, right?" "I did," I said evenly. "It was very professional. You always did have a knack for formatting." She sighed. "Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. It's just..." The guest list got complicated. Daniel's parents wanted elegant. No drama, no distractions. "No distractions," I repeated. "Meaning me?" Silence, then. "You know how you can get, Mom. You're emotional. You cry at everything. You make people uncomfortable." I almost laughed. "So this is about optics or tears?" "It's about presentation," she said sharply. "Daniel's family moves in circles where mothers aren't invited?" She hesitated, her voice softening. "They're just traditional, and they want the focus on us, not the past." I looked around my quiet kitchen, the past she was ashamed of. The house I bought on overtime pay, the same one where she'd practiced walking down the hall in a pillowcase veil when she was 7. "Emily," I said quietly, "you're wearing a ring I paid for. The down payment on your condo came from my account. Half the wedding bills are still on my cards." Her tone changed, sharper. "You said those were gifts." "I said they were investments. Gifts don't come with memos." "Mom," she snapped, "don't start this. You'll ruin everything. Please just stay home, watch the live stream. It'll be easier for everyone." Then the line went dead. I sat there, staring at the silent phone. I thought of the years I'd worked bookkeeping for clients who'd swear they'd pay later, who smiled while owing thousands. I'd learned something back then. There's always a paper trail, even for betrayal. I opened my email. There it was, the wedding planner's invoice, CC'd to Emily's address but billed to mine. I read the total twice, $28,400. For once, I didn't cry. I simply clicked download, saved it into a new folder, and titled it Wedding Evidence. Outside, rain started tapping the window pane. I reached for my old calculator again, whispering, "Let's see how much a mother's love really costs when it's itemized." By Monday morning, I'd stopped waiting for an apology. Instead, I printed every invoice tied to my name and slid them neatly into a brown folder, the kind I used back when numbers were my shield. I wasn't planning on fighting. Not yet. I just wanted to see her face when I showed her the math. Emily lived 20 miles away in a new housing development Daniel's family helped them buy, the kind with manicured lawns and mailboxes that all matched. When she opened the door, she looked surprised to see me. Not happy, just surprised. "Mom, you should have called." "Then you'd have had time to hide," I said, stepping inside. The house smelled like new paint and lavender candles. Everything was white and spotless, like a showroom. I set my folder on the marble counter. "I just came to drop these off, in case your wedding planner gets confused about who's actually footing the bill." Emily crossed her arms. "Mom, this is not appropriate." I flipped the folder open. Receipts, wire transfers, card statements. "This $7,800 for your dress? That's my account. The $4,200 deposit for catering? Also mine. The $12,600 venue retainer? Split between my savings and a card with your name as an authorized user." Her eyes narrowed. "Are you keeping score?" "I'm keeping records. It's what I've always done. Someone in this family has to." Her jaw clenched. "You sound ridiculous. It's my wedding, not a tax audit. You said you wanted to help." "I did," I said evenly, "until you decided my presence would ruin your perfect day. Tell me, Emily, how do you define perfect, expensive, selective, convenient?" "Don't twist this," she said, voice shaking. "You make people uncomfortable when you get like this. Daniel's family doesn't understand your sarcasm. You embarrass me." I stared at her. My daughter, in the kitchen I'd helped her afford, talking to me like I was a stranger who'd overstayed her welcome. "You're right," I said softly. "I am embarrassing. I'm the kind of woman who pays her bills, keeps her promises, and reads every line of a contract. Maybe that's why Daniel's family doesn't like me." She flinched, then whispered, "Mom, please just leave before Daniel gets home. I don't want this energy before the wedding." I picked up the folder, slid it back under my arm, and smiled faintly. "Don't worry, sweetheart. I'm not bringing energy. I'm bringing facts." As I turned to leave, my phone buzzed. An email alert. The subject line read, "Wedding account authorization change. Request approved." I stopped mid-step. Emily's name was listed as the new primary owner. I didn't remember the drive home, only the hollow quiet when I pulled into my garage, the kind of silence that hums in your bones. I sat there with the engine off, staring at my phone screen, the email still open. Primary account holder Emily Lane Dawson, authorization approved. Just like that, she'd taken my name off the wedding fund account. It wasn't just betrayal, it was accounting-level theft dressed in family politeness. That evening, my neighbor Nora stopped by with her small dog and too many questions. She worked part-time at the same community center where Emily's bridal shower was held last week. "I didn't want to bring it up," she said gently. "But Margaret, people were talking. Emily said you'd been acting unstable, that you're having trouble with your memory." I stared at her. "My memory?" Nora winced. "She told the women there you'd confused your finances, that you tried to take credit for paying for things you didn't." I laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "She's building her alibi early." Nora nodded slowly. "The worst part, her future mother-in-law agreed, said you'd been a little too eager to be involved." I felt the burn rise behind my eyes, but no tears came. I'd cried enough in my life to know when to stop. "Thank you, Nora," I said quietly. "I appreciate the truth, even when it stings." After she left, I went straight to my filing cabinet. Old habits die hard. I opened every drawer labeled Emily. Tuition statements, birthday checks, hospital bills. All those years I carried her like an extra mortgage. I started scanning them, one by one, saving each under a single folder. Proof of parental contribution. By midnight, the folder held 142 documents. My entire motherhood, reduced to PDFs. The next day, I stopped at the florist to pick up something small for myself. Lilies, Robert's favorite. He'd always said lilies were for the living, not the dead. As I waited for the cashier, I overheard two women behind me discussing the wedding. Poor Emily, one of them said. Her mother tried to steal her spotlight. Imagine a woman her age making scenes like that. I turned slightly, just enough to see the glint of Daniel's mother's diamond brooch. She met my gaze, didn't blink, and whispered, "Best stay home, Mrs. Lane. It'll save everyone trouble." I smiled politely, paid for the flowers, and walked out without a word. That night, I logged into my email again, but this time an unfamiliar message waited. Subject line, Wedding Deposit Refund Request, Fraud Report filed by E. Lane Dawson. My daughter had reported me. The fraud notice came with a 48-hour response window. I read it 3 times before the words sank in. Claimant alleges unauthorized withdrawals by Mere Lane. She was accusing me of stealing from the very account I'd built. The next morning, I drove to the bank in my oldest coat, the one that still smelled faintly of Robert's aftershave. The young teller looked at me with the kind of politeness reserved for people they think won't understand digital banking. "I just need to confirm a few transfers," I said, sliding my ID across the counter. She typed, frowned, and then excused herself to fetch a manager. When he arrived, his tone was syrupy but firm. "Mrs. Lane, I'm afraid we can't discuss this account with you. You're no longer listed as an authorized party." I felt something inside me tilt, like a shelf breaking quietly under too much weight. "But the funds came from my account," I said, voice barely steady. "I transferred them myself." "Then you'll need to contact the current holder," he said, already turning away. I stepped outside into the wind, clutching my purse like armor. For the first time in years, I didn't know what to do. By the time I got home, my front porch had 2 deliveries, boxes labeled "Return to Sender." Wedding items I'd purchased, crystal flutes, embroidered napkins, the mother of the bride dress I'd ordered from Charleston. The note inside read, in Emily's handwriting, "Please stop interfering, we're handling everything. E." I sat on the porch steps, surrounded by cardboard and cold air, listening to the sound of neighborhood kids riding their bikes past me. Someone waved. I couldn't bring myself to wave back. Inside, the house felt enormous. Every photo of Emily seemed to stare at me like proof of poor judgment. I poured a cup of tea, then didn't drink it. The steam rose and disappeared. That night, I found myself scrolling through her social media. There she was, radiant in a silk robe, smiling with her bridesmaids. Caption, "Grateful for my real family." The comments were filled with hearts and praise. None of them knew the woman behind the camera she'd cropped out. Me. I shut my laptop, turned off the lights, and whispered to the quiet, "Maybe I raised her too well. To survive without conscience." The next morning, a letter slipped through my mail slot. It wasn't from Emily or the bank. It was from an attorney, Daniel's family lawyer. The subject line read, "Notice of reimbursement request wedding expenses." They were demanding repayment for her wedding. I didn't open the lawyer's envelope right away. It sat on my kitchen table for 2 days, next to the vase of wilted lilies. I'd stopped cutting their stems. Let them dry out, I thought. Everything does eventually. On the 3rd morning, I made myself strong coffee, put on my reading glasses, and finally slit the envelope open. "Dear Mrs. Lane, per our client's request, we are pursuing reimbursement for funds inappropriately retained from the Dawson Lane wedding account. Our records show the sum of $28,400 paid from said account belonging to Miss Emily Lane Dawson. Failure to remit within 7 days will result in formal proceedings." There was a signature below, Harold K. Easton, Dawson Family Council. For a long moment, I just stared at the ink. Then, quietly, I laughed. A small, dry sound that surprised even me. Reimbursement. My daughter and her in-laws were trying to charge me for my own money. Something shifted inside me then. It wasn't anger exactly. It was precision. The kind of focus I hadn't felt since my days as an accountant balancing ledgers to the last cent. Betrayal might be emotional, but revenge? Revenge was math. I pulled the brown folder from the cabinet again and spread it across the table like a crime scene. Receipts, wire slips, statements, all neatly marked, time-stamped, with my initials in the corner. I opened my laptop and created a spreadsheet titled Exhibit A, Maternal Contributions. For hours, I entered each line: the dress, the florist, the venue, the down payment. By the time I finished, the total reached $43,215. I printed it, signed the bottom, and stapled copies of every receipt. Then I picked up the phone and called the only lawyer I trusted, my late husband's cousin, Marjorie Klein, a woman who'd built her reputation on untangling family property disputes. When she answered, her tone was brisk. "Margaret, it's been years." "Too many," I said, "but I need you." "Let me guess," she said. "Money and blood are mixing again." "Both. My daughter's accusing me of fraud and asking for reimbursement for money I paid." A pause, then, "Send me everything, tonight. And Margaret, don't delete a single email. We'll file a counterclaim by Friday." For the first time in weeks, I felt something electric hum in my chest. After the call, I went to my hallway mirror. My reflection looked older, sharper, but alive. I whispered to the woman in the glass, "They wanted elegant. They're about to get exact." By Friday, the sadness had burned itself into clarity. I didn't want tears anymore. I wanted timestamps. Marjorie arrived at my house with her leather briefcase and that courtroom calm that always made people underestimate her. She took one look at my dining table covered in documents and smiled. "You were always my favorite kind of client," she said. "The kind who already did half my job." We went through everything: bank statements, text messages, even the saved invoices from the wedding planner. Marjorie's red pen danced across the papers. "Okay," she said, tapping the spreadsheet I'd titled Exhibit A Maternal Contributions. "We'll file a counterclaim for financial misrepresentation. If they push this, we'll go to small claims court and make her explain where each cent came from. She won't survive the audit." I exhaled slowly. I don't want to destroy her. I just want her to stop pretending I don't exist. Marjorie looked at me over her glasses. "Margaret, sometimes the only way to teach the truth is to make it public. You raised a daughter who's forgotten what fairness looks like. Let's remind her." That night, I started my own quiet campaign. I gathered every message Emily had ever sent me about payments, every "Thanks, Mom, you're a lifesaver" text, every "Can you cover this? We'll pay you back after the honeymoon." Then I called Nora. "Remember what you overheard at the bridal shower?" I asked. "Would you be willing to put it in writing?" "Gladly," she said. "People should know what she's done." By Monday, I had affidavits from Nora and the florist, who confirmed I'd paid the deposit with my own card, and Marjorie had drafted the counterclaim letter. We were ready. But the plan wasn't just legal. I wanted something poetic, something that would force Emily to look me in the eye. So I RSVP'd to the wedding, not through her, through the venue manager, whose email I still had from when I paid the deposit. "Yes," I wrote, "the mother of the bride will attend. Payment confirmation attached." I hit send and felt a strange calm wash over me. Marjorie called later that night. "You really plan to go?" "Oh, I'll be there," I said. Not as the embarrassed mother they think I am, but as the woman who funded the whole production. I closed my laptop and whispered to the silence, "Let's see how a family that worships appearances handles truth on camera." The wedding day arrived with a sky too perfect to trust. Bright, cloudless, smug. The kind of weather that thinks it's innocent. I drove to the Rosebridge Country Estate in my navy suit, the same one I'd worn to Robert's funeral. Closure comes in many costumes, I suppose. My invitation technically was the paid venue contract itself, my name printed clearly at the bottom of the payment statement. When I walked into the lobby, the coordinator's smile froze halfway. "Oh, Mrs. Lane?" "That's right," I said calmly. "Mother of the bride." She hesitated, glancing at her clipboard. "I wasn't told you'd be attending." "I'm sure you weren't, but your file should confirm the deposit was made by me." Her eyes darted across the screen. "Yes, ma'am, I see that now." "Good," I said. "I'll take a seat where I can see everything clearly." The ballroom shimmered in pastel flowers and chandeliers. I recognized every centerpiece. I'd ordered them. Every chair ribbon. I'd chosen the color. For a moment, I almost felt proud, until I saw Emily across the room. Her face paled. She broke from her bridal party and hurried over, the train of her gown whispering like a warning. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "Attending my daughter's wedding," I said evenly. "You weren't invited." I didn't need to be. I own part of the guest list. Her lips tightened. You're unbelievable. You're going to ruin this. Sweetheart, I said softly, leaning closer. I'm just here to witness the contract I financed. Her fiancé Daniel approached then, face tense but polite. Mrs. Lane, maybe we can talk outside? Of course, I said. In fact, you should see this. I handed him an envelope. Inside was a printed copy of the Exhibit A maternal contribution spreadsheet, complete with transaction IDs and timestamps. He read the first few lines, venue, catering, dress deposit, and went pale. You paid for all of this? Emily hissed. She's exaggerating. Every number's verifiable, I said. Your family lawyer can confirm. Daniel's eyes flicked toward his groomsman, then back to her. Emily, is this true? She started to speak but stopped when the photographer, blissfully unaware, snapped a shot of the three of us mid-argument. I turned toward him and smiled. Make sure to capture my good side. I paid for your invoice too. As I walked away, my phone buzzed with a message from Marjorie. Perfect timing. Their lawyer just received our counterclaim filing. It's officially public record. I didn't plan for the reveal to happen during the ceremony, but then again, lies never wait for convenient timing. After our brief exchange, Emily insisted I stay out of sight in the back row. I agreed. I even smiled. But the truth has its own spotlight, and it was already warming up. The ceremony began under the glass dome, sunlight cutting through like stage lights. Emily floated down the aisle, flawless in lace and pride. Daniel looked nervous. His parents sat upright, as if posture could prove moral superiority. When the officiant reached, "Who gives this woman to be married?" the ballroom door opened again. A staffer entered, whispering to Daniel's father, who immediately turned ashen. I knew why. Marjorie had filed the public case, Lane v. Dawson, and it had just hit the county website. A financial fraud claim with attachments. Attachments that included every document of my funding. From my seat, I watched the whisper pass down the front row like a wave. Daniel's mother clutched her pearls. Someone pulled out a phone. Then Daniel's best man leaned in and murmured, "You might want to see this." The groom's phone screen glowed bright even under the light. On it, our lawsuit summary. Headlines travel fast in small towns. Emily's voice wavered mid-vow. "I take you, Daniel." She stopped when she saw his expression. Confusion curdled into anger. "Emily," he muttered, "is this true? Did your mother pay for the entire wedding?" She glanced toward me, desperate. "It was complicated. She offered. I didn't think she'd—" "Did you also file a fraud report against her?" he demanded, voice rising. Guests started murmuring. "Daniel, not now," she hissed. But he wasn't listening. He turned to the crowd, then back to the officiant. "I'm sorry, I need a minute." He walked off the platform straight toward me. "Mrs. Lane," he said quietly, "is this real?" "Every receipt, every cent," I said. "I don't need an apology, just accuracy." Emily shouted, "You're ruining everything." "No," I said, standing slowly. "I'm correcting it." The photographer kept filming. The guests, half horrified, half enthralled, watched the fairy tale unravel in real time. Just then, my phone pinged again. A message from an unknown number with a photo attached. Emily in a jewelry boutique, signing a credit slip for $9,000 using my card. The caption, "You might want to include this in your case." By the time I got home that night, the story was already spreading. A local gossip blog had posted a blurry photo from the ceremony, me standing calmly while Emily pointed her manicured finger across the aisle. The caption read, "Mother of bride sparks scene at lavish wedding. Legal drama unfolds mid-vows." I didn't share it. I didn't need to. Truth had found its legs. Still, the messages came flooding in. Some were sympathetic, others weren't. But the one that mattered was from Marjorie. "Expect contact. They'll try to intimidate you." She was right. The next morning, I found a thick envelope wedged into my mailbox. Inside, a letter from Dawson Family Council. Cold, typed, precise. "Cease and desist all defamatory statements against our clients, or we will pursue legal action for slander, libel, and emotional distress." I smiled faintly. They'd gone from elegant silence to panic overnight. Then the phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something in my gut said answer. Mrs. Lane? A hesitant voice asked. This is Harper from Rosebridge Bridal Boutique. You don't know me, but I think I met your daughter last month. I doubt she mentioned me fondly, I said. No, ma'am, she used your Amex for a necklace and matching earrings. Said you'd authorized it. But when we processed the refund this week, the card flagged as disputed. I realized your name didn't match hers. Harper hesitated, then added, I kept the signed receipt, thought you might need it. My pulse quickened. Can you email it to me? Already did, she said softly. My manager said to stay quiet, but it didn't sit right with me. That email arrived 10 minutes later, a clear image of the boutique transaction. Emily's signature, my card number, $9,080. Physical proof, #2. I forwarded it to Marjorie with one line, adding to Exhibit B. Within the hour, she called. This is it, Margaret. Between this and her fraud claim, we can pursue criminal misrepresentation if they keep pushing. Will that ruin her? I asked quietly. Marjorie's voice softened. Sometimes consequences aren't ruin, they're remedy. That afternoon, my neighbor Nora stopped by again, holding her iPad. You've gone viral, she said, eyes wide. Someone uploaded the ceremony video? You're trending under #theaccountantmom. I laughed despite myself. Of course I am. As Nora left, my phone buzzed again, this time from Emily. One message. You win. Meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., the old house. Come alone. The next morning I woke before dawn. The message still glowed on my phone. You win. Meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., the old house. Come alone. The old house was our first home, the one Robert and I had bought before Emily turned 10. It had been empty for years, sitting at the edge of town with chipped paint and weeds claiming the porch. When I pulled up, Emily's car was already there. She stood by the door in a beige coat, arms crossed, face pale under too much makeup. Mom, she said flatly. Emily. Inside, dust floated through weak light. The kitchen still smelled faintly of the lemon polish I used back then. She stayed standing while I took a seat at the table. I'm not here to fight, she began. You've made your point. Which one? I asked. That numbers don't lie, or that lies cost interest? She winced. You embarrassed me. Daniel's family called off the reception halfway through. His parents are furious. He hasn't spoken to me since last night. I didn't humiliate you, Emily. I just stopped protecting your version of me. You always do this, she snapped. Make everything about you. The martyr act. The guilt. I didn't fake signatures, I said calmly. I didn't file false claims. I didn't try to erase my mother to impress strangers. Her jaw trembled. I was trying to start fresh, to have a life that wasn't small. And you thought pretending I didn't exist would make you bigger? She sank into the chair opposite me. They said you'd ruin it, that you'd make me look weak. I believed them. For the first time, her voice cracked. I thought if I kept you away, they'd respect me. I leaned forward. Did they? She didn't answer, just stared at the floor. From my purse, I pulled the printed boutique receipt, the one with her signature. I slid it across the table. This was the last straw. You used my card and called it love. You filed a fraud claim and called it independence. You broke the law and called it protection. Tears welled in her eyes. I'll fix it. You'll face it, I said. Marjorie's filing tomorrow. You'll return every cent and retract your fraud report, or you'll face charges. She whispered, Would you really do that to your daughter? I met her eyes, steady. You did it first. My phone buzzed on the table. Marjorie's text flashing across the screen. Their family lawyer just withdrew the claim, but you'll want to see who sent the statement. Attached was a PDF, signed by Daniel Dawson himself. I drove straight to Marjorie's office, the PDF still glowing on my phone. The winter sun had barely risen, yet my pulse beat like I was walking into court. Marjorie looked up as I entered, eyes sharp behind her reading glasses. You saw it? I nodded. Daniel signed it? She turned her monitor toward me. He withdrew all fraud claims this morning, and he attached a sworn statement confirming that Emily forged your authorization to finance the wedding and filed a false report with the boutique to recover funds. My throat tightened. He exposed her? Marjorie leaned back. Seems he finally opened his eyes. His family's attorney already contacted me. They want to settle privately to avoid further press. But Margaret, this is the moment you decide whether you want punishment or closure. I stared at the document. Daniel's neat signature was right below Emily's messy scrawl. The irony hit me. My daughter's husband had more integrity than she'd shown in months. I whispered, "She's still my child." Marjorie nodded. "Then make sure she learns the difference between mercy and weakness." By noon, I stood outside the boutique where all this began. The owner, Mrs. Lang, met me at the door with folded hands. "Mrs. Dawson called. She said you'd be stopping by." Inside, the pearl necklace gleamed under soft yellow lights, the same one Emily had chosen for her rehearsal dinner, charged on my card without permission. I took a deep breath. "I came to return this," I said, placing the velvet box on the counter, "and to pay off the rest myself. No more shared accounts, no more confusion." Mrs. Lang smiled gently. "For what it's worth, your daughter came in earlier. She looked different. She paid the difference and apologized. Said her mother taught her to finish what she started." For the first time in months, my shoulders eased. Maybe she's finally listening. When I walked out, a car idled by the curb. Emily stepped out, eyes red but voice steady. "Mom." "Emily." I signed the withdrawal. I told Daniel the truth. He's furious, but he said he respected me for admitting it. I don't know what happens next, but... She swallowed hard. "I wanted to say thank you for not letting me destroy everything." I nodded. "You didn't destroy everything. You just forgot who built it first." We stood there, the winter air between us no longer sharp, just cold enough to keep us honest. She reached into her coat pocket and handed me an envelope. Inside was a single check, made out to me for the full amount she'd taken, plus interest. "I looked through the old ledger you kept," she said quietly. "I finally saw the math behind every gift, every holiday, every sacrifice. You didn't ruin my wedding, Mom. You saved me from the kind of marriage I was about to fake my way through." Tears blurred the edges of the street. "You'll be okay?" I asked. She nodded. "Maybe one day you'll come to my real wedding, the kind built on truth." I smiled faintly. "Just make sure the invitation has my name spelled right this time." We both laughed through tears. That night, I opened my ledger, the one that had recorded every dollar, every debt, every heartbreak, and drew a final line across the last page. "Balance due, $0. Underneath, I wrote, "Lesson paid in full." Weeks later, the boutique owner's daughter sent me a photo. Emily volunteering at a local shelter's accounting desk. A caption read, "Some debts can't be repaid, but they can be honored." I smiled, closed the book, and whispered to myself, "I choose me." Weeks later, the boutique owner's daughter sent me a photo, Emily volunteering at a local shelter's accounting desk. A small caption read, "Some debts can't be repaid, but they can be honored." I smiled, closed the old ledger, and whispered to myself, "I choose me." If you've listened this far, thank you. Tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my place? And don't forget to subscribe to Revenge Stories U60 USA, because stories like mine deserve to be heard.